Everything we're getting from the Weather Service over the last 2 days, the term they've been using has been catastrophic, life-threatening. I can tell you that in our planning and what we're seeing, this is probably one of the most catastrophic things we've seen come toward our community. We're looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 inches of rain. They've already told us, today that the flash flooding during Florence will be worse than Matthew. So with that said, and I know Chief Crawford will get into it whenever he gets up here to speak. I know from the county that we're already putting word out if you live in a flash flood prone area to evacuate. Our plans are right now to open 3 shelters. One will be at LCC, one will be at South Lenoir, and then one will be at North Lenoir. Obviously, Jeff Harrison, where's Jeff at? And then the Pamela back in the back with the health department, health director, their staff will be manning the shelter. So they divided their teams up to be able to make this happen. The sheriff's office is marshaling up law enforcement resources, obviously EMS resources. We divide the game plan to where we're going to put task forces throughout the county, and that task force will consist of a law enforcement car, an EMS truck, as well as a fire truck. Now the reason for that is if a call comes in, the fire department can go out to help clear the road. Of course, the EMS is there for a medical emergency, and then law enforcement is there for scene security. We'll look at implementing all that sometime tomorrow night or Thursday morning. So the question we're getting asked a lot now is when can we expect the impact of this thing? Best guess scenario as far as what the timing they're giving us, the Weather Service, and please understand this thing can move back and forth. But right now it appears as if the worst of it will be sometime Thursday afternoon into Thursday night, and then lasting to the day on Friday and Saturday, because it is forecasted to get right to shore or just offshore right above us and stop, kind of slow way down. So that's where the rain is coming from. I cannot stress enough to our citizens here in Lenoir County, and please understand when I say Lenoir County, I'm talking not only the rural areas but the municipalities as well. Now is the time to do what you have to do to get your home ready. Now is the time to where I would suggest that you be making plans to leave the area if you need to. Get as far west as you can. Because what we're worried about is the infrastructure. We start losing power, your power could be off for weeks. And not days, but weeks. And I'm sure Rhonda can probably talk to it better than I can as far as the city, but when we talk to Duke Energy and others, that's what we're being told from that standpoint. The other thing I want to encourage our citizens to do, and all of us in government, you as elected officials, and I wouldn't have y'all's job for nothing in the world, but all of us in government, we want to do all we can to help you. That's what we signed on for. But when we start talking about the stuff we're talking about, or the possibility of what could happen to us over the next week, our citizens, and not only here, but everywhere, need to understand that we might not be able to get to you. We just simply might not be able to get to you. So you need to be prepared to stay on your own without any outside help from government. Fire, law enforcement, EMS, anybody, for at least 72 hours. At least that long. And so what does that mean? That means you need to have your food, non-perishable food, water, medications, whatever it takes. I think the main thing, another important part that we get hit with all the time, some of the questions we've been hit with, Jeff's harped on it on our Facebook broadcast that we've been doing, is your medications. We don't have prescriptions to go get people's medications. Say, if you come to a shelter and you don't bring your prescription meds with you, we don't have the ability to go get that. We can't, we don't have doctors to fill that. We don't have pharmacists to get it. We don't have prescriptions to fill it. If you're on home oxygen, get it now. It might be too late because what we're being told is you can't really find it now. But you need to have stocked up or get stocked up on home oxygen. So I think the main thing we want to try to focus on is number one, this is a very catastrophic event. It's what we've been telling everybody for the last couple of days, there's three things you need to consider in this storm. One is the wind, and we're talking 80+ mile-per-hour winds that are sustained. Number two is the flash flooding. And they told us again at lunchtime today on the conference call that the flash flooding during this storm will be worse than it was during Matthew. And the third thing is going to be the river flooding, the river and creek flooding. The river and creek flooding, I can tell you our river level is at 4.5 feet. That's where we're at, so we can handle a lot of water. But when we start talking about 15, 20, 25 inches of rain across the basin, I don't know what that will go to. We have talked to the Weather Service and the Atlanta Forecast Center, which is where they can come up with river levels, and they are working on trying to give us estimates based off different scenarios. So we at least have some planning to plan for. But just kind of points to remember, as far as the flooding, Hurricane Fran in '96 was 23.3. That's how high the river got. Hurricane Floyd in '99 was 27.8, 27.7, I think. And then Matthew in '16 was 28.3. That's what the levels got to. Now, I want to caution everybody when they start talking about flood stage or flooding in the Neuse River. Our flood stage is 14 feet. So if you hear the river's going to flood 14 feet, okay, we're fine. We can handle that. When you start getting up to the 17 or 18 foot mark, that's when you lose the nature center. The nature center goes. And then from 17 to 18 up to 22, I'm sure some of your infrastructure here in the city will start being impacted, with some of your sewers and drains, all that kind of stuff. But at 22 is when we start losing 11 and 55 out by Center's bypass. That's when we'll lose that road. And then obviously from there, it just spills on over on the 70, up by at 258 and then around the 70. Just things to remember as far as when we start talking about river levels, okay? With that, I mean, that's a very quick synopsis of what we've got going on. There's a lot of planning, a lot of people that's done a lot of work. We've tried to bring resources, trying to get resources in here early to stage up. One thing I do want to caution the elected officials on, if I could please, just a couple of things for you to consider. Number one, you're going to see a lot of resources out of the GTP. They're not ours. That area that you're going to see out there, the resources you're going to see out there is all for Eastern North Carolina. That's for the Eastern branch. So that resource can go anywhere from the Virginia line all the way down to the South Carolina line. So you see it out there, doesn't mean it's ours. It's got to go there, okay? The next thing, again, elected officials. If you don't know, call us. Get a Chief Crawford, obviously, is who we're going to be working with here with the city. Obviously, we work with the city manager. Chief Crawford, from the response standpoint, is definitely who we'll be working with. Get up with somebody, and we'll try to give you the best information we can. I don't want you to go out there and say something that maybe we can't do, aren't doing. At the same time, if you see something we need to concentrate on, or you've got a concern about something, let us know, and we'll do the best we can. So, and we're going to do the same with you. So again, as elected officials, we appreciate your support. We do thank you for that support. We can't do our job without that support. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. If anybody has any questions or however I don't know how you want to do it.
Then we'll take questions later at the end.
Okay, fine.
All right, so we'll turn over to City Manager Tony City.
Chief Crawford's going to talk to you in a few minutes just about the operational standpoint, but some of the things that we want to talk about now is obviously, as you see, I know Woody can't cut to it, but we have the City of Kinston's EOC Twitter page. We have this up here. One of the things that we learned there in Matthew is how we go about using social media to identify those people to give information to our citizens, and that's one of the things that we're really concentrating on. what Adam has done here, and he's kind of operating this webpage and the Twitter page, is he's putting areas that flooded, and you heard Mr. Dell talk about flash flooding. We had several incidents where we had flash flooding. We want to make sure that we're giving that information out. So what you'll see if you follow us on our social media webpage is the streets that flooded last time during the flash flood. We're identifying those again now this time. Adam has also had several signs that have been made up. You may see this sign located near your road, and what that's going to tell you is that this street is subject to flash flooding. It doesn't mean that it will. There's a lot of things that are going to continue to happen, storm track, rainfall, but as Roger said, we expect more flash flooding. If you see this in your area, in your neighborhood, it's not that your home is going to flood, but as the streetway would flood. As Roger said, being able to stand on your own 2 feet for 72 hours is something that's important. We want to make sure that we're giving our residents that type of information so they can be prepared for what they're trying to do. The other thing that we're doing is we know that there were some issues, i.e. on Doctor's Drive, where we had those individuals who were flooded out and they were being displaced. Our public safety and public services staff are going around and we're putting these door hangers on. It's not an evacuation notice, but we are making sure that you're mindful that this area that you're in has the potential for flooding. You may be displaced from your home. The city works very closely with the county. They have their shelters will be open. We have telephone numbers on here for you. We're not saying you have to evacuate. We're not telling you you have to leave. This is not mandatory. We're just making sure that we're putting information into our citizens' hands that they are aware that they could be impacted by the storm event. Unlike with Matthew, we anticipate that this will be a more wind-heavy storm. There is no doubt, as part of being a public power, that we're going to have to do a lot of things to make sure that our services are back up in a timely manner. But in that same breath, they can only operate at 40 mile an hour or below wind speeds. We expect wind gusts to reach up in the mid-80s. When your power goes out, it's not necessarily, you can call us at the complex at the 3282 number, which we will encourage you to use. If it's not safe, we can't send our crews out. We anticipate there to be semi-large power outages. We're bringing crews in from other states to assist us with our crews. We want to do our best to get it back on. We know that those are individuals that are home. We have calls here all the time that you may have some type of oxygen, you may have some type of defibrillator, you may have some type of medical equipment in your house. The city of Kinston will not be able to guarantee that you're going to have power. We're not going to guarantee when that power will come back on. Unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the storm and the events that happen. But we have those crews, they're going to be here, and this is really about just trying how your organization is going about informing our citizens what we've historically known to be happening to help predict what we think is going to happen in the future. It would not surprise us, however, that we would flood in areas that we have not flooded before, and we have issues that have not been previously seen, because each and every storm is different. We anticipate this storm to be different. If you have any questions, we encourage you to call us here at the City of Kinston, to follow us on social media. We'll be happy to respond to the things that you're doing. Again, you can call us at 939-3282. They'll be happy to get you that information. You can call Adam Short up until the storm happens, and his number is 939-3269. We're happy to provide you as much information. He has the previous flood maps. If you're concerned about what elevation the noose is going to be at, what's it going to be, if your house happens to be in a flash flood prone area, Mr. Short can help identify that information for you. Just give us a call here at the city. Mr. Short, anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I just want to reiterate the importance and for everyone to understand a little bit about the difference in types of flooding that we see on the Neuse River. Tony mentioned it, and I just want to impress on everyone the difference. Flash flooding is going to be much more short-term. Is during a storm event. You're much more likely to run into that if you're out driving in the storm. So that's why we all say that, hear the saying, turn around, don't drown. Stay in your home, stay put if you can. Make plans early to move now if you need to. Which is, flash flooding, it has a lot more movement in the water. It's much more volatile, so it's a little bit different than what we see following the storm, which is slow rising water that comes from the river. So primarily our flash flooding events during the storm is around Atkin Branch and the creeks that feed into Atkin Branch. So If you are in a flood zone, if you know you're in a flood zone, or if you don't know you're in a flood zone, feel free to give us a call. Again, my number is 252-939-3269. I'll be happy to tell you if you're in a flood zone, if you're close to a flood zone, what type of flooding you might expect, either flash flooding during the storm or post-event flooding from the river. So I have, again, feel free to give us a call. We're here to help. So, and one last thing, if you want to follow events, you can follow Kinston EOC on Twitter and Facebook. Help us share some of the information that we're pushing out. This is primarily city focused, but if there's anything we can do to help with the county as well, just let us know. Thank you.
Good afternoon. From a city emergency operations standpoint, we are geared up. We've been planning for the last several days. We have the emergency operations center set up. We are right now, based on the projected forecast, the track. Right now, we're probably looking at opening the city EOC sometime around Thursday, 5 o'clock. Is what we're looking at right now. We have staff that we've had several department head meetings. We have our management staff set up to run the event. We're anticipating, as Roger pointed out, the hazards that will be associated with this storm. We anticipate having quite a bit of problems with the storm. We do plan the function that we're going to provide in the EOC. As Adam mentioned, Adam is going to serve as our public information officer for the event. And so the social media platforms are going to be critical that people can follow them because we'll be putting out information. But the key thing that we're going to do here is we're not just going to respond to the events that are occurring during the storm, but we're also going to be planning for the aftermath of how we go out and get into areas that may be damaged and things of that nature. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Feel very comfortable where we're at right now from a city standpoint. We've been working really closely with emergency services. They're a good partner with us, and so I think we're prepared. Manager everybody's doing a good job making sure that departments were prepared, equipment checked, things like that. So I think we're, from a city standpoint, we're good to go. I think we're prepared as we can be for the storm. So.
Yes, sir. At this time, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, if anybody from the council or from the board has any questions, we'd be happy to do our best to answer them now.
I just wanted to ask, do we know when our public transportation will close down, or if it will close down?
Joey? I'm going to need you, if anybody here has to answer, we ask you to come up so you're in the same shot here. You don't mind.
We are planning on operating normal business hours tomorrow. Thursday, we are going to be operating for only evacuations. So after tomorrow, it will only be evacuating people to shelters or wherever they need to go. Dialysis is all shifts of dialysis are going to be taken tomorrow, and plan on starting back to doing dialysis Saturday, possibly. So, thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Stewart, I know we have mutual aid agreements with electric co-ops, and do we have any idea of how many electrical partners that will be coming to the area to assist us with power outages here in the city?
Yes, sir. Part of the problem is a lot of Duke and our other partners in electricities and electric co-ops are calling in people. I know, where's Ms. Rhonda? I know that we've looked as far away as Alabama trying to get other crews in. How many? Texas. How many? Do you know how many different crews?
We have approximately 50 individuals coming with trucks.
So we have approximately 50 individuals with trucks who will be coming in. We'll be housing them here. We'll be taking care of them and they'll be here just as long as their organization will allow them to stay and help our crews get back on.
Okay, so, go ahead, sir.
Well, driving in today, on Independence, I saw 3 piles of trash that had like 2x4s with nails in it and all like that. We need to stress the emphasis of putting away things that become projectiles. And
Absolutely.
I don't know if the city tomorrow can have them get it picked up or whatever, but it's on Independence, 3 piles of construction trash. And also, are we gonna have a curfew at any time?
At this point, we don't plan on having a curfew, but as far as your projectiles, it's one of the things that if you follow us on the Kinston EOC webpage and Twitter account, we talked about that today. Outstanding point. If you have something that's outside your yard, outside your house, that is not tied down, if it's not stationary with the winds that we're looking at, you don't want things to be projectiles for your own home, your neighbor's home. So if you've got a garden flag that's outside, or you have rocking chairs that are on your front porch, or you have anything that's ornamental, you're going to want to go ahead and bring that in. If you have a garage, please bring your trash can inside your garage or put it up against your house. We don't want that or anything inside to be projectiles. And if you happen to have any trash out, the city of Kinston is going to operate on a full schedule Wednesday and Thursday. We will take an advisement of where we are for Friday. Most likely the city will not be providing garbage service or that type of service. If you have a large debris out, please go ahead and call us at 939-3282 and allow us to go ahead and start picking that up. And so because we want to be safe. We want to be safe for our neighbors. We also don't want to throw unnecessary trash or garbage around our neighborhoods. That also brings us to another thing that we're working on, identifying and mentioning to our citizens. That goes for county citizens as well. What happens is when we get to the backside of this, there will be storm debris. There will be particular ways that will need to be picked up. You can't do what they call commingle. You can't make one big pile of trash. It will need to be separated. So when you get to the landfill, we will be putting that information out. So again, please follow us on our social media posts. We will be helping you and trying to tell you what's going to be the best way. I imagine Sunday some people are going to want to go ahead and get outside if the storm is already cleared. They're going to want to start clearing their yard up, and we want them to do that. But there's very particular ways to do that. Putting it all in one pile is not beneficial for helping us. Everybody pays federal taxes. Everybody in January is cutting that federal check, and we want to be reimbursed from the federal government. But if our citizens, both city and county, aren't helping us separate these things and do it the right way, it makes it more difficult for us to get our federal funds back. So as you're cleaning up, we want you to be mindful of keeping those types of things separated, so which makes it easier for us to get that cleaned up.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you so much. This question might not be for you, Mr. Simmons, it may be for Mr. Dale or Dale or Jeff from DSS. Question had a call today. The special needs people that we have, when you have special needs or if it's a unit, an entire unit that has to be evacuated from a facility, who's your point of contact and what are the requirements for them to be moved, how we want to get them out?
Right now, we are fully aware of that situation. We've been aware of it now for 3 days. We've been trying to work with the owner. The owner came into town today to try to resolve that issue. They had a backup plan, which was Castle Center. Castle Center is no longer an operation process for this facility to use because they have made their available space contracted through this disaster to 2 other facilities to house their individuals. So that has limited this process. They had a backup plan with a local church nearby. There are some air quality issues with that. The owner is trying to work with the church to see if she can pay to have that fixed so they could use that as a location. But right now, I don't know that process. We're still working on that, trying to resolve it. In terms of like special medical needs, these adult care homes and other facilities are supposed to have a backup emergency plan in place, and they need to be reviewed at a minimum annually. I would ask that they review them more than that, because what happens is we get to an event and then it triggers a thought process, oh, I need to review what my emergency evacuation plan is, and then we have problems and it's too late. So we're aware and we're working to get that, and hope we can bring some resolution with the owner and secure a location for them in the next day or 2 with that. But we're working towards that. And then in terms of special needs, this time, this is a different event than we've ever experienced before as potential for a Category 4 hurricane affecting Lenoir County. A lot of times we rely on our assisted living facilities, Harmony Hall, and places like that when they have vacant beds, that we can use those to